great to have you with us here at Talking Hope. And today we've got a very special guest, haven't we, Roy?
We've gone international.
Yes, we like a bit of international. Where are we going, Roy?
We're going to Texas.
Texas. I have visited
But he's
Texas.
a Brit. He's a Brit.
He's a Brit abroad.
He's a Brit abroad.
A Brit abroad. So, and we're going to hear all about prayer walking and how you can also get involved in Prayer Walk 21.
Paul, where are you?
I'm in Texas, Dallas.
And is it warm there?
Yeah, it's hot here right now. Yeah, really hot. But it's showery, so it feels a little bit like Manchester. But it's got the rain of Manchester for Texas.
Paul, now you have been doing lots of walking and praying, haven't you? Which is why you're here. And we really want you to help encourage other people to do prayer and walking. But Paul, when did you first do this and why did you first do your first big prayer walk?
Yeah, so back in the early 90s, we'd founded an organisation working in schools, and I was just really working in Manchester. So I was getting invited to speak in schools, realising this amazing opportunity to reach young people. You know, somebody else had bought the building, somebody else was paying the staff. I just had to turn up and do my thing. And then one day in church, someone comes to the church and prays over me and basically says, Paul, I believe that God's saying to you that wherever you tread, God will give you. So being a practical northern lad, I thought, well, I'll walk across England then. I'll call God's bluff. I'll walk across England and pray for the schools to open up. So back in the early 90s, I walked across England and just really prayed that God would open the schools up. In reality, I think I was praying that really the church would open its mind to the fact that schools were already open. Yes. And there was this crazy missed opportunity. So that's the reason I did it originally.
So how long did it take you to walk across England?
It doesn't take long. It took me the first time I did it in 13 days.
Wow.
So I used the Wainwright's Coast to Coast.
Lovely.
In those days was really nobody knew about it. And I had to use a map and compass to navigate across England in those days. But recently did it again and it's all changed.
Is it all like are there now lots of like footpath notes and markers and this is the Wainwright path? It's really obvious, is it?
Because you're a bit of a walker.
Yeah, a bit of a walker. I like walking in the Lake District. So I haven't done the coast to coast, but I do some walking in the Lake District, which was Wainwright's kind of, you know.
And did you pray?
To be fair, I was normally walking with an awful lot of other people and we were normally talking and singing. And so I've done that from when I was small, really. It's kind of a bit of more of a community event, really. Yeah. But Paul, actually, it's a good community event, isn't it? Did other people join you on your prayer walk?
So the first time, no. So the first time I had this very kind of solitary experience. And I think the best thing about prayer is not just what happens through prayer, but the prayer changes you. So I think prayer changed me the first time. And then just as you said, in the second time, initially I wanted to go and recreate what I did the first time. So I even got the same book I was reading, which was Intercessor Rees Howell's book.
Amazing book. What a book.
Yeah. So I read that the first time. So I thought I'll recreate the same experience. But because obviously the first time I was kind of on my own, walking into the unknown, didn't really know what was going to happen, didn't know what's going to happen through Pais, the school's organization. And then what happened was that the second time, obviously people know me now. So people like Dan Randall wanted to join me for half a day or a day. And then I would meet people on the walk as well. And so it became, like you said, a community event. And it was quite challenging really because I realized on day 4, I can't recreate the first walk. This had a different purpose. And so this time I thought, why pray for people when God's putting people in my path to pray and share my faith with? So the second walk was more me sharing my faith with complete strangers who I got to know as I walked along with them.
And do you think it's different? Your prayer experience in the open air is different to praying in a room?
I guess so. I think what I like about this kind of prayer walk is it's a physical example of what prayer is, which is a journey. So for me, and I'm going to use a weird word that's going to sound odd at first, but I feel like the first walk made me righteous, but not in the normal sense, because we think of righteous as in, morally good or perfect or holy, but the real word means to be righted with God. So you become more aligned with God. And I think on that journey of that first walk, you start off praying for yourself and then you end up praying for the things that God wants. And so you become more aligned with him. And I think the first journey we think of course, is Abram, who became Abraham. So God adds an initial from his name to Abram's, symbolizing Abram along this journey is going to become God's dreams are going to become Abram's dreams. I think that's what happened on the first walk. So I think being in the open air, doing a walk helps in that sense. It kind of reminds you what really prayer is about. It's about a journey to become more righteous, more aligned with God. That's the destination.
And this year, we've launched the Oikos app, which is kind of helping everyone, we hope, to go out and do prayer walking. And it has. It's encouraged lots of different people in different cities and different towns across the country to go out and walk down their streets. And just you notice more, don't you? I know when I walk along the street and I'm praying, I just see things I wouldn't have seen before. And it's as if God,
Because you do it with your eyes open.
Yeah, and God's, yes, it's difficult to do a prayer walk with your eyes shut. You could get run over, Roy. So
and it would be very
we
dangerous.
We don't want to recommend that, Roy.
We don't want to do that.
But you do see things, don't you? And God does something in you, gives you a heart for where you're praying. So I think that's also really powerful. And we would love more people to get involved and to go onto the Oikos app and to pray down their streets.
And across their community, or do it as a church, or cover our whole area. Obviously, you did it on your own first time, and then second time, people joined you on this journey. What would you say to people that may be a bit nervous, maybe a bit anxious, they just want to put a toe in the water to have a go at this?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's anything you particularly need training for. I didn't. I just literally walked and had a conversation with God, and whatever dropped on my mind, I prayed for. This time, because I had people joining me, I actually wrote out the things I would pray for each day so people could join me. But I don't think you just begin to learn how to do it. It's a conversation, isn't it? So sometimes prayer can be just listening to God as well. Like I say, I think the biggest thing about prayer is not just what happens through your prayer, but what happens in you because of your prayer. So I felt like God taught me to pray as I was praying.
Right.
And then the encouragement of seeing what happens. So on the first walk, Pais was reaching schools in Manchester, I think Birmingham, whereas now we're in 20 nations around the world. So we're reaching everywhere from Ireland to Islamabad, working in those schools and then God just speaking to you. And I think one of the main things that God really challenged me on the first walk, don't know if this is answering your prayer, Roy, I'm sorry, but was just this kind of question, because I was going into schools and I began to ask the question, why is it that we spend so much time, energy and resources inviting people when Jesus spent so much of his time, energy and resources getting himself invited? And just thinking through, how do we get ourselves invited? So God just changing your mindset. So a lot of that happened on the journey. I didn't need to have that in place for the journey. So that would be my advice. Is just, like you say, step out and let God teach and train you along the way, I think.
And it does change your hearts, doesn't it? We've got experience of people that have known they've got neighbours. Once they prayed, walked their street, all of a sudden, God's put it into their heart to say, what can you do for them? What's the next step? So you then took the next steps. And that's what we're encouraging with this as well, to say, once you start doing it, God will prompt you to take some action.
And I think he puts things on your mind. So I just did a prayer. I said I don't generally do this, but we did one, my wife and I walked around our little community a couple of weeks ago. And just what dropped in my mind was, Lord, I pray that along this walk, I'll meet someone who's not going to church, but is interested in going to church. Now, it didn't happen on the walk, but about 2 hours later, I was sat down and another neighbor came to me and said, oh, this is my friend. She knows you do a Bible study in your house and she's interested in the Bible. Can you chat with her?
Great.
So what we just prayed for, but I do think it's God who puts those things in your mind. So it's God who's training you, God who's prompting you. So like you just said, you don't have to know everything before you do it.
So we really want to just encourage more people to go on this adventure of prayer walking and then to see what next steps, particularly looking at going home to home and finding out who's around in their community. And so if you want to do more, we're so grateful to you, Paul, for joining us and inspiring us with your stories. Roy, where do people go? They find the Oikos app.
They do. And what you do is, it's an app on your phone.
Yeah.
I haven't got my phone with me.
I've got my phone. You just go on your phone, you go on the App Store and you can find the Oikos app.
Yeah.
Or you can
You've got so many apps in there.
Yeah, that's what phones are for, Roy. Lots of apps to do lots of different things, Roy. That's why we have apps.
Oh. Anyway, this one does prayer.
Yeah, this one does prayer, and you can go onto the Hope for Every Home website, and you can find the Oikos app. You can find out about it on the Hope Together website.
And it'll show you your street.
Yeah.
It will link right down to your community, and you'll see if others are praying, and if they're not, this is your moment to do it.
Here's the Oikos app, and then you can work out and put pins in where you are. So that's great. We'd love everybody to get involved. Drop a pin in where you are, pray, and see what God does.